Hey class, this is Katrina Berg and this is your week 5 installment of the additional resource video. I'm going to highlight some key points from chapters that you're reading this week, so let's get started. First, I want to talk about the concept of integrated marketing communications. We're talking again about communications this week, and we're going in depth about what that looks like on a global scale. So in order to address this global initiative, this global effort, the term IMC, or Integrated Marketing Communications, has been created, and it addresses the challenge of what's happening in effective communication across the borders. You're looking at companies that are trying to have a global message, but also have a local message. And this IMC concept is about creating a coordinated and strategic message that addresses the challenge. One of the things in your book that is also mentioned is looking at advertising versus global advertising. Advertising in and of itself is an example of a sponsored paid message that is communicated in a non-personal way. When you're looking at it from a global standpoint, the message is developed for global suitability. So some images that you may use in a local context may not be appropriate for a global context. So again, consider those differences, and companies need to figure out a way today how to best use their resources, because if you're creating a local message, that's using resources to create that message. If you're at the corporate or home office, and you're creating a global message, that allows for the message to be created and then sent out. There are no edits or adds to it. So again, you're looking at resources, you're looking at communication. Is the investment worth creating a different message for the local market? Is that additional cost going to pay off in sales and return on investment for you? These are some of the questions that you need to be thinking about as a marketing manager, as a CEO, or as an advertising agent. Obviously, if you're doing a global message, you're getting better economies of scale, it's more cost effective, and you're getting improved access to communication, again, perhaps based on volume, based on frequency, whatever it may be. You're getting just a better bang for your buck, for lack of a better descriptor. There is an ongoing debate, as I mentioned and alluded to earlier, about the benefits of standard advertising or global advertising versus local. Another way to address that has been what's called a creation of pattern advertising, and this is allowing ads to be adapted to an individual market. The global advertising campaign is created, but it's created with a mindset of that local marketing team can then create a message used with select images, messages, content that can better adapt to that local market. So that's a strategic sort of hybrid version, if you will, of addressing this issue. Advertising agencies, again, you can do marketing in-house or you can do it out of house. Advertising agencies are global. They're also regional. They're also local. So depending upon which method you choose of using your communication strategy, if you want to do a hybrid of in-house and advertising agencies, or solely advertising agencies, which may be better at local advertising, whatever it may be, just be aware that those agencies exist. Ad development, when you look at the process, and some key terms to consider are looking at the creative strategy. What is your message going to say? What are the images going to look like? Then you're going to consider appeal. Which appeal do you want to approach the consumer with? Is it a rational appeal or is it an emotional appeal? That's going to matter. Then you go to question your selling proposition. What is the promise that is going to capture that consumer? What is your product or service or idea going to do? Copywriters are another key component of the ad creation, and those are language specialists who are going to be able to develop written content such as the headlines, material, or script that may be used in an ad. Another component that is becoming more and more important in advertising and communication today is called public relations. So public relations is an important part of the global campaign as well because it's telling your story, it's building goodwill, it's building an understanding of who you are as a company and your product. So some additional ways that you can communicate with your customer about your product or service include sales promotions, consumer sales, trade sales, sampling, coupons. You can do direct selling. You can maybe even use catalogs. Again, consider what's appropriate in your region and in your market. Today, we in the US think catalogs, oh my gosh, that's a waste of paper potentially. In some countries, those are valuable ways to share your product or service. That paper is valued and kept. So again, look at what market you're in to determine what method you're getting that word out to your consumer. And then what that consumer perception might be about your method and channel. Sponsorships and product placements are also another way to get in front of the consumer and are becoming more prevalent. I'm sure you've seen some product placements in movies. This also happens in other markets as well, so be aware of that. Let's finish up by talking about leadership. We've talked a lot about content and technical. The leaders matter and the leaders' visions matter. In order to be a successful CEO, in order to be a successful marketing director, manager, part of the marketing team, you need to have a global vision and you need to be able to communicate that vision to your staff internally, externally, to your partners, your vendors, to your advertising team. And you need to be sensitive to cultural differences and recognize how they impact your team, how they impact your product, how they impact your consumer. In order to also create a successful marketing expansion, create a successful marketing campaign, you need to build structure in place that is supported, and that's an organizational structure. As I mentioned earlier, it could contain advertising agency, it could be internal, it could be sourcing it out to that local division and trusting them with what needs to be done. Corporate social responsibility is another factor to be aware of as a leader and as part of the organization story as a whole. You need to be aware of the stakeholders and how you impact them locally and globally. Again, this is part of your messaging, part of your brand identity, part of who you are, part of that product or service. All these need to work together. Thanks for listening, class. Let me know if you have any questions.